This is a follow-up to a previous episode about the Francis Rossi, Bob Young in Conversation YouTube series. Last time I was reacting to episode 1. This time, what else but episode 2? This time, a little bit longer, around 4 minutes, nearly 5 minutes. They focused on 2 songs, Paper Plane and Gerdundula, or as I was once told by my dad, he used to pronounce it Gerdundula. I think it has many different pronunciations, but I think the one in which the songwriters use is Gerdundula. So, once again, I loved this series. I love the rapport that they have between them. You can still see that they're great friends and that they have a lot of banter between one another. So the first thing that they focused on was Paper Plane, that song that was released as a single, included on Pile Driver in 1972. And as they said, it's very good live as well, then and now. Bob, in particular, referring to a live version at the Marquee in 72, where they had 2 microphones taped together, which was quite a common thing, I think, in the 60s in particular, into the mid-70s, of taping the 2 mics together. I believe one of them would have been for, obviously, the cameras. The other one would have been the feed for the audience. So that's kind of a regular thing. They also do a brief thing talking about the lyrics, kind of those contradictory lyrics that they were writing at that particular moment in time. So like riding on a big white butterfly, turn my back away towards the sky. And of course, the one that Rossi pointed out, we ran along walking across the rooftops in my chair. Lots of contradictory stuff. They kind of explain this and the idea, I guess, of trying to be clever at that time, or trying to imagine what certain songwriters would be writing. And the thing is, we know this because obviously with things like Pictures of Matchstick Men, you know, he said in documentaries that he was kind of inspired by certain things, and you try and write in a certain way, or you try and come up with a certain riff that was very similar or inspired by something else. Again, I love this. I think this is a great thing. And we've heard them talk about Paper Plane quite a few times. And so there wasn't really anything in there particularly new. And I think maybe I noticed that obviously the first one was just focused on one song. This time they put 2 questions in there. They put 2 songs in. One probably to make it longer, and 2 because the 2 songs we've heard about at various points, you know, when we've spoken to either the 2 of them or just Francis on his own. I think even Rick has commented on at least one of these songs in the past. So the second song that they focused on was Gerdundula, which is a favourite. And again, it's not one that sounds like that typical Status Quo sound. It's got more kind of a folky, almost country vibe going on to it. And even Francis himself points out that you know, if they were sitting down to write a song that was particularly in the style of, you know, Status Quo, within those perimeters, this isn't really a song that would come out of that, you know. And I like the kind of insinuation that can be sometimes restrictive. And so in these early days, they're really going for it in all different directions because they haven't found that formula 100% yet. Obviously, they mentioned the Manston James thing. That was really what the question was referring to. I do wonder sometimes whether because it wasn't labelled down as a young Rossi Young composition, whether people kind of overlook it. Because if you look at it on paper, it kind of looks like they've either, you know, covered something from a songwriter or heard something at that particular moment in time and gone, that's a good song to cover, kind of, like they would have done in the early days, where those early 60s albums are kind of, there's lots of other songwriters on there than just themselves. And so when you look at Manston James written down, that's kind of what it looks like. And they do explain that they were kind of advised to do that at the time. And my question to you is, do you think that's maybe harmed the reputation of the song in retrospect? Because when you look at it on paper, if a fan didn't know, they wouldn't connect it to them, obviously. I like the way that Bob's trying to be diplomatic and Francis just comes out and says, well, there was this thing, that's basically what they were trying to do, that's what this was. Again, I really like the song. It's been a great live fixture over the many years, and to hear its origins. I mean, we knew that about Gerd and Ula, the fact that they just put the two songs together, which is why when in the past, like I said, it's been mispronounced to me as like Gerdundula and Gerdundula or whatever, and it's like, but it's Gerdundula because of the story behind it. That's kind of the thing about it, isn't it? So, what do you make of this second episode? Was there something in there that you didn't know? Something that you weren't aware of? Obviously, like I say, they've talked about these two songs prior, so maybe there wasn't anything new this time, but to see them in this day and age, right now, talking about these songs and maybe adding tiny little nuggets in there that we weren't aware of is certainly something that I welcome all day, every day. Anyway, that is Rossi Young in Conversation, new episode weekly. Going to try and react to them. Some of them are going to be longer than others. Apologies if I missed anything out, because I don't write anything down. I like to give a very natural reaction to it. Thank you to the people who commented last week that they enjoyed that one. Hopefully this one was okay. Like I say, still out there. Look forward to seeing what's next. Maybe we'll go obscure again. Maybe they'll go a little bit more obscure. And it seems like as well, maybe they'll expand it out so that we've got more than one song, so we're a tiny bit longer, so we get that little bit more per week. Anyway, I've been Jamie Dyer. This has been the Quo-Cast. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye for now.